Oh man, I love Kult Tiras so much. Check out that view.
Yeah, seriously. Listen, I've been thinking. I know we said we were going to level our Horde characters next, but honestly, it's just so great here. How about we nope out of Zandalar and stay here, like, forever instead?
Sounds good to me. What do you think, Khadgar? I think that's a yes from Khadgar. Looks like we're staying.
Awesome! I'll send Talanji a text, say we're sorry, really sorry, but we're both feeling really ill and we won't be able to make it.
Do you have scurvy?
Oh, hi there, little fella. What are you up to? Evitel, what's he doing?
Nothing. I mean, he's kind of staring, but I mean, that's fine, isn't it? I mean, that's nothing to worry about.
Worry? Who's worried? Listen, I just killed actual titans last expansion, mate. It's going to take a bit more than a starey kid to... Oh!
Do you have scurvy?
Taliesin, where did all of these children come from? I mean, who do they even belong to?
I don't know, but really, it's nothing to worry about, is it? I mean, who doesn't love children? They're so innocent and full of wonder and... Oh!
Do you have scurvy?
You know what? I've been thinking I really would like to level a Horde character.
Me too, you know, there's no point only seeing half the game, is there? We should go to Zandalar.
Yeah, like right now.
Yeah, I'll text Talanji, tell him we're on our way.
Do you have scurvy?
Mummy.
Text faster, Taliesin.
I can't, I'm too scared. Hello everyone, welcome back to another weekly reset, Taliesin and Evitel's Wondrous Wisdom Show, and apologies because it's a bit of a quiet one this week. There hasn't been much happening at all really, and only joking. No, obviously this week has been stupid and crazy and packed full of just about everything, as you well might expect from the launch of a whole new, proper for reals though, World of Warcraft expansion. So yes, today we're going to be talking about the launch and how it's perfect and how nothing went wrong at all. We're going to be giving some first impressions on our experiences, we're going to be giving you the lowdown on things you might have missed and pointing you in the right direction for the 120 max level fun times. Also, we're going to be talking Gamescom. We're going to be talking Azshara, and you know what, just because I'm in a good mood, shit, why not? We might even be talking Azeroth as well. And we're going to be keeping this whole episode major plot spoiler free, but we are talking about the game, so you know, there will be some things from the game in what we're talking about. I hope you're okay with that. Because we start this week at Monday, or Tuesday, depending on where in the world you happen to be, and the launch, finally, of Battle for Azeroth. And in the hours before this thing went live, it became clear as to why Blizzard had chosen to walk what was an essentially pretty risky path in their first ever simultaneous worldwide release. Because, seriously, what a massive ask of the team that was. What a major logistical and technical headache, but my goodness, what a sense of anticipation and excitement and hype it helped to create. To have every WoW player in the world sitting in Orgrimmar or Stormwind or Silithus, all hanging out on voice chat or grouping with guildies or being one of the 500,000 viewers that WoW had on Twitch at that point, and all of them counting down to the same moment. I mean, it had simply never happened before. And that opening, when Magni's little diamond face popped up to give us our starting quest, was genuinely quite magical, and I loved being a part of it. As a spectacle and as an event, the worldwide launch was a massive success. But of course, that was also when, somewhat predictably, some things started to go wrong. And I want to make this very, very clear here, because it's important that you know this. I'm going to talk about some of the things that did go wrong with the launch now, but pretty much none of it is from personal experience, because my own experience was absolutely great. Minimal lag right at the very beginning, but no crashes, no lockouts, and as close to a silky smooth gameplay experience as anyone could reasonably hope from a launch. And that was on Argent Dawn EU, which is a big server. But importantly, I wasn't lucky, because my experience was the same as the majority of people that played the game that night. But out of what must have been literally millions of people logging into WoW, a lot didn't have such a good experience. With players on the very largest servers like Draenor on EU and Illidan in North America getting huge queues, random disconnects, the ever-terrifying disappearing characters of Absolute Panic thing, and to top it all off, being unable to switch to ults they may have had on more stable servers. And obviously, that sucks. Obviously, when you commit to a worldwide launch and your 5 largest servers can't access the game at launch, that is obviously a problem, and people are going to be annoyed, but I think when these sort of technical problems crop up, as they always will, you judge the devs on how quickly they solve the issues rather than the fact that the issues arose. And that's a philosophy, actually, that you could see plainly on the forums, where those players who were locked out of the worldwide fun gathered to support each other and help one another through the hours of darkness to the other side. In fact, do you know what it reminded me of? Something we refer to in this country as the Blitz spirit. In 1940, London was bombed for 56 out of 57 days straight. Millions of tons of explosives rained from the sky. People lost their homes, their loved ones, their lives. But as they huddled in improvised bomb shelters and tube platforms, they famously sang songs and looked after each other and remained unbroken. Spirits were kept high through sheer force of will, to the extent that many Londoners actually missed the Blitz in the years afterwards. And this is what the forums were like on launch. Yes, there were problems, but the community rallied and proved that they would not be disheartened by a couple of hours locked out of a video game, and no, it was a shit show, obviously. What a load of crap. Pure garbage. I am speechless. It boggles the mind. This is bullshit and outrageous. Unreal, same crud every time, such losers. Yeah. So frustrated and too angry to type anything witty. I think I'll pray. Okay, so actually there might be a slight lack of Blitz spirit there, actually, but you can see why people were getting edgy. Bellular was locked out of Draenor EU for 3 hours. Do you have any idea what happens when Bellular can't make videos for 3 hours? The Belfast murder rate hit a 20-year high, and that blood is on your hands, Blizz. Most problems in the EU were solved within those 3 hours, and those US realms that were having trouble took a little bit longer. And when you say it like that, it doesn't sound so bad. But now all of that nonsense is out of the way, what was actually waiting for us when we got inside the juicy new expansion and got to play? Well, story. In cutscenes, cinematics, quests, and just the locations and the people that you interacted with, there were 1,000 new stories to discover and help along the way. There were beautiful sights, in my opinion, some of the best realised zones in the history of the game. There were people everywhere, which is always brilliant, and there were bugs. Loads of bugs, and not of the we planned a worldwide launch and we ran into difficulties we didn't expect kind, but just things not quite working as intended. Glitches, mistakes, and just general hints that Team 2 really were pushed to their absolute limits to get this game out and into our hands on time. And it's nothing game-breaking. There's the odd wall ornament just floating in the air here and there, quests not popping or completing without a hotfix, NPCs having not one, not two, but 3 different voices in the space of one conversation.
I must keep a closer eye on the Queen, however. Lord Admiral's favour, friend. Fancy a cuppa?
And the occasional instance of falling through the dungeon floor and DCing, then logging back in to see that you're still falling and DCing again. This was happening to me for 20 minutes before I finally died and respawned in safety. And none of this stuff matters. I'm only bringing it up because, well, it's quite funny really, but there were some more serious things too. The worst of the lot being a bug that meant that an awful lot of players didn't actually see one of the awesome in-game cinematics. It might well be the case that you still don't know that you've missed a cinematic. Although, to be honest, at this stage, it's probably your own fault for not watching our analysis video on the intro scenes, but you know. And what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind like it did mine, because this happened to me. It wasn't till an hour after we stopped playing and were getting ready for bed, Evitel and I were excitedly going all over the cool stuff we'd just been doing in game. I was saying how I was going to make a Taliesin talks the next day, and Evitel said, oh yeah, you've got to talk about baby Jaina. And I said, yeah, totally. Wait, what? And I had no idea what she was talking about because the game had only shown me one of the 2 awesome Jaina cinematics, and I might never have known. And now we've got an actual problem, Blizz, because okay, I can cope with a few hours chaos at launch. I can cope with falling through the odd floor here and there, but when you start keeping Jaina away from me, then now this shit is getting personal, okay? Because seriously, don't you dare. But with all of that said, we have a new expansion, and so far, I absolutely love it. And yes, I know this is the easiest time to love an expansion, when it's new and fresh and sexy, when you get to level for hours upon end and feel like a proper adventurer again, before the serious business of gearing and raiding properly kicks in. The early game is always fun, but honestly, in my opinion, Battle for Azeroth does it better than I've ever known before. And I've enjoyed it immensely, but it's also meant more to me than any leveling experience I've had, apart from my very first. Full disclosure, I did the introduction to Zandalar and Kult Tiras straight after each other, and although both were stunning and dramatic and beautifully introduced with great voice acting, I decided to focus on Kult Tiras first, so I've so far only reached max level on the Alliance side, mostly because, you know, Jaina needed my help, and I'm sorry, but that means Jaina gets gets my help, but also because the whole aesthetic of Kult Tiras is something that just really speaks to me. I knew that before I started, and it turned out to be even better than I'd hoped, because this continent is beautiful, looks amazing, obviously, as you'd hope for the newest content, but it's the design, the layout of the zones, which is just so realistic and believable. Different areas or settlements make sense in their placement and are perfectly in tune with their surroundings. And everywhere you go feels alive with people going about their business, whether that be tending the land or getting ready to head out to sea or just grooming a horse and chatting in their brilliant British regional accent. The whole place feels right. The early game of an expansion is the only time WoW ever feels like an RPG instead of an MMO. And I think the highest praise I can give to Kult Tiras is that throughout my leveling experience, I often felt like I could have been playing Skyrim or The Witcher in a good way. Of course, all this is pretty irrelevant to how the next 2 years pan out, but credit where it's due because this was really special for me. And you know what I love? I love how only 50% of you even know what I'm talking about because you've had a completely different experience on the Horde side. You don't care about Jaina because obviously you're some kind of an idiot, but also because for you, it's all about this lady and this guy. Oh, this guy. And obviously I could talk about this for hours. I could tell you about my favorite parts of each zone. I could tell you about my new favorite characters. Rosaline. Her name is Rosaline, and basically I think we all need to start appreciating just how awesome she is, thanks. My favourite quests, not all of which involved helping old Tortollans conquer their fear of horses to fulfill their lifelong dreams and make their little Tortollan children proud of them, but at least one of them totally does involve that, and it's awesome. And all of the stupid little random moments that have happened to me this week, and maybe sometime I will, just as soon as I've done it all again on the Horde side next week. But if I did talk about all of that, then we wouldn't have time to talk about Gamescom, and I really want to talk about Gamescom. But before that, we'd like you to have a proper rundown at what players face after that leveling experience when they reach that magical 120.
Maybe you no-lifed those 10 levels in 15 hours and don't remember a single thing about the quests or stories you worked through to get there. Maybe you're taking your time, really savoring every moment, getting lost in forests and swamps and deserts and living your best adventurer life. Or maybe, and I imagine this is quite a few of us, you're just gently hitting the lofty heights of 120 now over the weekend. Well, here's something we're noticing which we didn't really expect to at this point. It's not always entirely clear what you're supposed to be doing when you get there. Taliesin hit 120 and waltzed off to do his new world quests for fat loots, because that's what his Legion conditioning has taught him to do, only to find that there weren't any world quests on the map, which in his poor sleep-deprived state he put down to the game just being fundamentally broken, but turned out that he just hadn't done everything that he was supposed to, kind of like his taxes or cleaning the oven. So to make sure you're not missing out on any of the good stuff, we've put together this little, I don't want to say guide, how about to-do list, of stuff you're still going to want to get on with after dinging. Here's the thing, you're going to hit max level with a whole ton of story yet to play through, and the game really wants you to play through it. So play through that story! You'll need to complete the main narrative chapters in each zone that you leveled in to open up a whole new quest line, a bargain of blood or a nation united, which will further your faction's story beyond what you've seen in each zone. What will become of Jaina? Exactly how many bad things are you gonna have to kill in Zandalar? Spoiler, it's a shit ton of bad things. And apart from some pretty nifty cutscenes and cinematics, this is also going to unlock the Mythic-only dungeon for your faction too, which rounds off those stories satisfyingly, but is also a requirement for your Pathfinder achievement, which obviously means nothing now, but will mean a lot in 8.2 when everyone is flying around without a care in the world, and you're stuck walking everywhere because you never did find out exactly what became of Jaina. Although Horde and Alliance do their leveling on completely different continents, your adventures aren't restricted to just Zandalar or Kult Tiras. The war campaign is going to send you across the sea to the opposing faction's turf to set up footholds for you and your buddies. There's a short quest line to establish bases in each of the 3 foreign zones, and you have to have completed all 3 for world quests to even become available at max level. This was the problem Taliesin had, because he had completely neglected to bother going to Nazmir, even though the war campaign guy on the massive boat in Borealis Harbor kept very politely suggesting he might want to swing by. Tali was having none of it, which is why Tali had no world quests. The other chapters of your war campaign get unlocked as you reach higher levels of reputation with the Honor-Bound or 7th Legion factions. The reason this is important is because completing the whole campaign is the requirement for unlocking the first of those BFA allied races. So, just to be clear, if you have any intention of playing as a Magar Orc or a Dark Iron Dwarf, then complete the war campaign. Reputation is a really important part of the early endgame. You need it to finish the war campaign, you need it to be able to buy cool recipes and toys from the emissary quartermasters, but there's one which is perhaps the most important of all, and it's easy to miss. The Champions of Azeroth. Reaching new ranks with these guys will see Magni empower your Heart of Azeroth, which is obviously something you're going to want to do because, well, you want to be as badass as possible, obviously, but also if you want to do any kind of raiding in the next couple of weeks. Our advice is to craft or buy a contract for them. If you've activated a Champions of Azeroth contract, you'll get 10 extra points of rep with them for every world quest you complete, which is pretty brilliant. And if you really don't care about your Heart of Azeroth, but you really want the snazzy Proudmoore Admiralty tabard, well, that's cool too. You can buy contracts for any of the BFA reputations. That tabard will be yours in no time. That's cool too, Russ. That's Kult Tiras. Don't forget island expeditions. I know that sounds stupid. They are a major feature of the expansion and all, but honestly at this early stage when you're focused on gearing and rep grinding and story completion, it's kind of easy to forget these 3-player Azerite farming scenarios, because the rewards are less immediate and slightly more abstract, but picture the scene. You're running Mythic dungeons and getting the good gear, and suddenly a shiny new 340 Azerite armor piece drops. It's a massive upgrade and you equip it only to discover that you don't have nearly enough levels on your Heart of Azeroth to unlock any of the traits on it, and suddenly your new armor isn't quite as shiny as it was before. Don't be that guy. Fill that lovely island expedition bar every week and keep your armor shiny. On top of this, of course, you're going to be doing all the obvious stuff too, like running dungeons, doing world quests, picking up those sweet bind-on-use mounts that can drop in Drustvar, Stormsong, Nazmir, and Vol'dun, leveling your professions. You want those 32 slot bags, don't you? Yeah, you do. Hanging out in guild chat, talking about how great Jaina is, and just generally soaking up the atmosphere and those sweet views. This is one of my favorite points of an expansion, when nearly everything you do is going to advance your character in some way. A great way to keep track of it all is with Wowhead's Attunement tracker, which we're going to link below. It'll tell you exactly what your progress is for all of those milestones, and is really useful for deciding what to spend your time working on anytime you log in. There's something really fun about being overwhelmed with the sheer amount of stuff when you first reach Endgame, but at the same time there's not long until it's all about Mythic Plus, raids, and warfronts, which is when it starts getting really serious.
And finally today, Gamescom. Because on Wednesday, Blizzard will once again be setting up their stall in Germany to get us hype about all of the new stuff they've got coming up. Some WoW announcements, which may or may not feature some proper talk about Queen Azshara. I mean, I say that, but if it turns out they're not talking about Azshara, then frankly, whoever did their key art this year needs to be taken to one side and told to calm down and seriously stop drawing awesome pictures of Azshara all over their key art. Because honestly, if they're not talking Azshara, then this really sends out the wrong message. We've known since the BFA reveal last BlizzCon that we would be facing off against Azshara this expansion, with most people assuming that she would be kind of like the Gul'dan equivalent, as in the last boss of the second big raid in 8.1, and that's looking more and more like it's going to be the case. The fact is, we know Azshara is a thing. We know there's a whole new mysteriously unseen Warbringer animation just waiting to be shown to us. We know there's probably a whole raid based around Naga and underwater fun times, but the problem is, none of this really fits with the whole faction war theme that Blizz has been pushing so single-mindedly for the last 10 months. I guess that's why the Azshara Warbringer wasn't part of the build-up to Battle for Azeroth, is because it dilutes that choose your side message. But it looks like this week might well be the time we get our first hints as to where this expansion is really heading. And so the question that I can't help but ask myself is, will it just be Azshara that we talk about? Or will there be something even bigger? When we do get to see this last Warbringer, is it just going to set her up as the raid boss that we already know she is? Or will it give us a glimpse of something new? Something we've never seen in game before? Basically what I'm saying is, are we going to see N'Zoth? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, whoa, hold up there, Taliesin, but I think you'll find N'Zoth is an old god, and this is an expansion about the faction war. There are no old gods in Battle for Azeroth, Taliesin, and you are absolutely right. There are no old gods in Battle for Azeroth. Nuh-uh. Nope, not a sausage. But, you know, what if there were? Do you remember that BlizzCon straight after Legion launched, when Ian came out on stage and talked about 7.1 as expected, but then also revealed 7.2, and then also revealed that we were going to Argus after that? Now, I'm not saying that we've got anything of that magnitude in store this week, but we do know how much Ian loves a good mic drop moment these days, and what could be more mic droppy than dropping N'Zoth all over us? Now, of course, if that is a reveal that they've got coming, then I imagine that BlizzCon would be the more obvious place to do it. The final boss of this expansion could actually be a lot closer than we think, and right under our noses as I speak. Honestly, I'm amazed we actually made a video this week.
Why is that?
Because every time we sat down to write the script, it was like, do you know what I really need to do now? Yeah. I need to log on and I need to play some more Battle for Azeroth. And yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous, and I had the best time. And so now I've got my alliance. Well, I've got my alliance main up to 120, and like doing all the cool gearing, and completed the whole kind of like Jaina quest line. Seen all the sweet cinematics and stuff. Oh man, they're so good. What about you?
I'm 115.
That's terrible. You're
know.
a casual. You're such a casual.
No, but now that it's the weekend, got Sunday left. I really want to push to 120 pretty quickly.
Yeah, there's 5 levels in one day. Can you do it?
I can, if I prepare myself with snacks.
Okay.
And hydrate.
Okay.
And just focus.
I believe in you. You're doing Alliance as well at the moment.
Yeah. Although, I am totally going to have to do Horde once this is over, because it's an entirely different world.
Yeah, as you see, because I love this whole war campaign thing where you go over to the other continent.
Yeah.
And it opens up for world quests and stuff as well, so you've got like 6 zones to be doing world quests in, which is great. But also, when you go to the other continent, it feels like really quite exciting. Like you are sort of entering enemy territory. Horde next week for me, leveling hardcore. Because like you see, we've got our alliance pendant up from the collector's edition here.
Yeah. Are we gonna have to flip it?
I know people are gonna be like, oh yeah, you're alliance and you love alliance. Well, that's because I've been leveling alliance this week.
Yeah.
Because Jaina, but next week
it's gonna be the other one.
All about the Horde.
Yeah.
I love this little pendant thing. It's ridiculous.
Really cool. One of my favourite moments was a couple days ago. I was just questing in Drustvar. And so I've just finished Tiragarde Sound, moving into Drustvar. I'm taking my time, okay? I'm completing everything.
Yeah,
and this is actually the first time in an expansion that I've really wanted to complete the stories, rather than just pushing through to one, max level quickly. But I was questing around Drustvar, doing my little bits, being weirded out pleasantly by everything. And I suddenly see just like a stampede of characters running by, and like one Horde character running.
Oh, so they're the player characters?
Yeah, player characters, and clearly like a rogue. And I looked at my map, and they're marked as like the assassin, and just these, and it's brilliant because you can't fly, and you have to run over like terrain. And I just joined in this like witch hunt for this.
A witch hunt in Drustvar.
Yeah, exactly, which was
fitting.
perfect. But it was so exciting, and everyone was like trying to like find him and get him out of stealth, and we finally downed him.
I also love how it took 20 alliance players to down one Horde rogue.
Okay, 20 is an
Get him! Find him! We'll get the rogue! We'll get the solitary rogue!
Yeah.
Any favourite locations?
Oh god, it's so hard. I really love the Norwington estate.
Me too! I'm so glad you said that.
I love the estate.
Oh my goodness. All of that around the lake is just incredible.
It's so cool.
It's so beautiful, and it
It's
just
really
feels real.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is not being able to fly, and I love not being able to fly.
Me too.
I know loads of people hate that. But
I'm really feeling it right now. It's like really
so good. When you're in
now.
zones which are as well designed as Tiragarde Sound, and you're running around, and even when you're just doing like kill some bears quests, the characters are so good, and like the actual zone as a character is so good.
Yeah.
And you're running up little paths, and they just make sense. They just feel realistic.
It feels really good.
And then you get to the Normington estate, and there are people dancing and just having a good time. And there's the Tortollum with the horse, and you do the little the horse trials, and then there's like stuff that happens.
And there's fireworks.
And then when you complete the stuff that happens, oh my goodness, it just
love it.
feels real.
Yeah.
And I always said this about like Mists of Pandaria. One of the reasons Mists of Pandaria was my favourite like places to play in, to play in, was because in RPGs generally, but Warcraft as well, it's kind of like all about ruins. Everywhere you go, it's like there was an ancient civilization here, and now there is treasure which we must find, and that's cool. That's really cool. But what makes it feel alive and real is when there is actual places that people are living. You walk up and you discover an estate where there are people working and like doing stuff with horses, and it just feels amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, I saw someone describe it as like it starts to feel a bit more like like the Elder Scrolls or The Witcher, and that, you know, and like it's a similar feeling. Like you're like, you come upon a place and there are people doing their thing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's so cool.
it's like with The Witcher, where you just go, oh, I'm just going to hang out here for a little while, see
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like
I've
something
never
that
done that in WoW before.
didn't happen to
I've
me in
never
WoW
done
so
that
much.
before.
Looking forward to sharing more with you over the coming weeks.
Hey.
Especially when all that Gamescom information comes out, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't wait. I'm pretty sure they're just going to show us like the Azshara Warbringer and go, by the way, fighting Azshara like you didn't know, ho ho ho. Oh, I'm still hoping there's just going to, like, at the end of the Azshara Warbringer, there's going to be, exactly, there's going to be some tentacles and like an eye and going,
Not like
Azshara.
Azshara tentacles, but like
No, but
dark
like other tentacles, and this voice going, yes, good, good, or like whatever. I don't know. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours. We're not going to. I mean, we kind of have. But thank you for joining us today. If you like this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real life money to help these videos happen, and they wouldn't be happening without our patrons at the moment either. So thank you so much. We've been re-kitting loads of our equipment and stuff, and we couldn't have done it without
lights.
you. Thank you.
Hence the glow.
Yeah. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Nissera. Oh no, my name is Taliesin. From me.
And for me, Evitel.
Until next time, cheerio.